Thank you so much, Program Director, for the opportunity to say a word or two on behalf of the Engineering Council of South Africa. I must indicate that we are excited by this initiative that has been started, and I've listened attentively to Dr. Lekgotla as well as Mr. Mapalala, and then the points that they've shared, they're very telling. And as I was sitting, I began to be excited because I've always been wondering why, in the midst of so many challenges that this country is facing, the engineers are not coming together to claim their space and even to try and generate solutions that are required so as to resolve them. When I address audiences, whether it is here or in Africa, I always say that everything and anything, it starts and ends with engineering, and everything around us is actually engineering. And people are not aware that we should not necessarily be having so many challenges in the country or in the world, because the word engineering actually comes from the Greek word genius. And a genius is a clever person. So all the engineers are clever people. And if you look at the history, and if you look at many countries, and if you look at many politicians, they've always made sure that they are surrounded by the engineers, because it has always been known that engineers are clever people. So here we're meeting today to be part of clever people. So I am also a proponent of the concept that Mr. Mapalala has shared of this country trying to have the likes of the Engineer General, because it has always worried me why we have always seen speeches in the media where the Minister of Public Enterprises has been saying that there's a shortage of engineers in the country, to the extent that there are engineers that have been downloaded from countries like Cuba and from Italy. And when I make my speeches, whether on radio or on these platforms, I always say that we do have a lot of engineers in the country. So from the Engineering Council of South Africa, we are sitting with a huge database of engineers across various disciplines, about 11 disciplines that are already approved by our council. And it is our responsibility to regulate these engineers. And as part of ensuring that this space of engineers is safeguarded, so that not anybody, including the sound engineers or any other person out there, can call himself an engineer, we have also gazetted a critical regulation called the Identification of Engineering Work, in terms of which we want to safeguard the space of the engineers, and in terms of which all the engineering work that will be done by nobody else but the engineers that are registered. And those engineers that are registered will be doing everything and anything under the auspices of the Engineering Council, and they will be regulated to the extent that if they blunder, then we can be able, as a regulator, to take action against them. So this is the space that we are in as the Engineering Council of South Africa. And I must also indicate that as the Engineering Council, one of our critical foci is also to drive the agenda of transformation, because the database of the engineers that we have, it is still skewed towards white people, and we are currently sitting at around 52,000 engineers in our database. That is actually a lot of engineers that we have across a number of disciplines. But in that database, you'll find that the majority are actually white people, and more particularly the males. And now the question is, what is happening to the black engineers that are coming from varsity, that have just graduated or that are graduating every year? So it is the responsibility of the organization like the ELP to rally those engineers that are currently at varsity to ensure that they join the likes of the EXA register, they join the voluntary associations so that they participate in this ecosystem of engineers and they can be regulated. That is what we are pleading for. So I'm here representing the Engineering Council of South Africa to pledge our support to the initiative that has been started, and also to indicate that we'll be working with the ELP in terms of supporting it in its initiatives, and where we ought to be an ambassador in terms of some of the messages that it wants to communicate. We'll do so all the time. And the work that we do as the Engineering Council does not only start when engineers have been registered, it also starts right from the time when they are still at varsity, which is why we have engineers projects in terms of which we are mobilizing the engineers from the varsities so that they are not lost. Because we've actually seen that not all people that graduated engineers end up venturing into engineering. Some enter into other streams, but not necessarily engineering. So we want to ensure that we rally all of them and have them registered and start registering at the time when they are doing their 4th years, even their 1st, 2nd, or 3rd years, so that by the time then they graduate already, they are part of the engineering family. And we want to rely on organizations like the ELP and then to assist us to lobby all of them so that they can be part of the engineering space. We don't want ever to hear that in this country there is a shortage of engineers. And it is always worrying us that in decision-making positions in government, at municipalities, in the provincial government departments, people that take decisions around engineering are not necessarily engineers. So, and that must be corrected. And we want to request organizations like EPL to support us in terms of ensuring that the engineering space is self-guided. And we have started that process ourselves with the gazetting of the identification of engineering work. And we are also responding to the cabinet approved framework for the professionalization of the public sector in terms of ensuring that the work that engineers do, that they do, it must be done by nobody else but people that are qualified as the engineers, that have been subjected to requisite training from the universities that are accredited by the Engineering Council of South Africa. So that is the message of support that we are bringing to the EPL, and we want to take the opportunity to thank the opportunity to participate in this endeavor, and we will continue to support the initiatives by ELP as well as the University of Johannesburg in terms of ensuring that engineers participate in decision-making positions at municipalities, in the provincial government departments, as well as nationally, including even mobilizing government to ensure that there is this portfolio of an engineer general. So that is our message of support, ladies and gentlemen. So I've been given about a few minutes to say a word or two, and that is what I wanted to share with you. We are surrounded by the genius, by clever people, and all the solutions we actually do have. And for the longest time, as I said earlier on, the engineers have not mobilized themselves in terms of looking at what could be the solutions into the challenges that we are facing. In my mind, I was thinking of the likes of the CODESA. CODESA tried to come up with the solutions for this country. So if we are facing challenges around water, where there is a problem in terms of the water infrastructure, in terms of electricity infrastructure in the country, where there's a cholera epidemic in Amanskraal, that's where the engineers are going to be needed. Because all clever people, we do have them in the country. We don't necessarily have to go and download them from countries like Cuba as well as Italy. They are just right here. And as I'm saying that, the EXA database is awash with all of them. So this is our message of support to the ELP, and thank you so much.